In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, God just bear with me. To whom all praises are due, it is indeed a blessing as well as a privilege to come before you in the spirit of truth. Not my truth, I have no truth, but the truth that Almighty God Allah has blessed us with. I'm Brother Hakeem Abdul Muhammad. I'm the Supreme Captain of the New Black Panther Party. I'm here on behalf of our National Chairman, Hashim Nzinga. Hashim Nzinga is our minister. He's also a school teacher that we call a professor. He's the successor to Hashim. Hashim is the successor to Dr. Malik Zulu Spars, who is the Black Lawyers for Justice firm from Washington, D.C. Basically, we have to thank Allah for our Black Power Chairman, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, who has been our mentor in this program for almost 24 years now. So as the Supreme Captain, Deputy National Minister of Defense, this incident, whatever's happened, to come to my attention. So we decided today at noontime of Monday, March the 3rd, 2014, the New Black Panther Party will address the problem of bullying in the Georgetown School District in the case of Miss Valerie Conley, the mother of Vanesie Thomas, who will address the 4 years of bullying in this situation where the child is going into remission. So basically, the New Black Panther Party National Chairman Hashim Nzinga has sent me as the Supreme Captain to helm this investigation. So we're going to call for a town hall meeting, a paramilitary march, and we're going to take a trip to the school board, and other legal activities will be taken care of. The process is are being put into effect for some legal procedures as far as a class action 1983 lawsuit to be filed. So at this time we have Sister Marshall with us, the chairman from Austin, Texas. You have to excuse me, it's very cold here. We have Brother Kai, who is the chairman from San Antonio. We have Brother AK, who is the local MOD, Minister of Defense from San Antonio. Okay, so what we're going to do basically, based on what we are planning on doing, we have what we call the New Black Panther Party 10-point platform. Our 9 local objectives is basically to develop a Black Power movement here in Georgetown. To develop a Black Power movement, we have to deal with the educational problem. We have to develop a defense for Black political power, Black economic structure, and we're going to deliver and enforce an accessible law in civil and criminal justice. We want to do a defense for Black youth first of all, but to do this we got to develop a Black relationship with the community, and we will defend whatever rights that we have to, if we have to even talk reparations and compensation in the end. So right now, we're going to address the issues of the school board. The issues are basically counseling. We want resources to be made available. We want legal aid for the child, and possible college preparation to be for reparation, and to be recommended that this child should be taken care of. Now, I've come on here several times, and I've sitting down. We've talked this out with the mother. We're going to bring the child to us for a minute. We're going to bring her out and get her on footage too. So what we did, I'm going to let you take this for now, and then I'm going to take over some more. So I want you to personally explain everything that you've told me, and then I'll elaborate and we'll work out some more details. So this is Sister Nettie Collins. She's the mother of Vanesie Thomas. So Sister, you tell me what you've been through, what's going on with the child, and then we'll take it from there.
Sister Marshall, we're in a press conference right now.
Okay, the bullying issue at school. I know in November 2010, my daughter started having bowel movements and urinating on herself. So I took her to her physician probably about 2 times. And he ran tests both times. And finally he told me, after the results came in, he said your daughter has anxiety. So I questioned my daughter, and we found out about the bullying at school. And one child would actually hit her every day, and the other one would tell her he's going to hit her. He'd say, I'm going to hit you, and he'd do like this, but he wouldn't actually hit her. And then we found out that the teacher was abusing my daughter. Instead of taking care of the bullies and stopping them, she would actually separate my daughter from the rest of the class. She would reprimand her verbally from the rest of the class. I mean, in front of the class. So she was pretty much tormenting her also. And it states it in her own documents how she would, in her own documentation, how she would abuse my daughter. And I went to the principal, and the principal did the same thing. She was reprimanding my daughter when she would complain about the bullying, and even in her own documentation, she told me that she admits that she lied to me regarding my daughter's bully. When I first approached her in April 2011, I'm sorry, she told me that I told her about the bullying and everything, and then when we had the meeting May 18th, see, she had told me that she had spoke with the bullies, but during the meeting she told me that she didn't know who the kids were. So how did you speak to the kids if you don't know who they are? Yeah. And around May 23rd, her teacher, Miss Lackey, called me and she told me that my daughter had to put up with the bullying. And I started crying and I said, "What if it was your child?" And she said, "My child doesn't have to, but yours does." So that's when I got off the phone and I called Miss Albright, Deputy Superintendent, and I informed her what she had just said. Yeah. And at the time, I didn't realize what she meant. I didn't know about, the corruption. I thought, as long as you have the evidence, they'll stop it. And I think I also was thinking that, as long as I begged them and pleaded with them, and they would stop, but it didn't. And the following year, okay, this is the 2010-2011 school year. Okay, once my doctor found out about the anxiety, he put on antidepressants, and we also have that in the medical records. But I didn't want the antidepressants because she was so little. She was only 7. Yeah. And so what I did was I called and got a personal counselor. So I had a counselor for her. So he worked with her from the summer on until school started, from the summer of 2011. Did that help? Oh, it did. Yeah. She improved a lot during the summer. And but once she returned to school, the first bullying started at Frost Elementary. When school started back, she went to McCoy Elementary, a whole different school. And at this school, the bullying of the same boy, one of the same boys, the one that would actually hit her, started back up, continued, and so did the principal, Ms. Guzman. She was allowing the abuse to go on. And on, I think it was the 8th of December 2011, Miss Heather Brock, teacher, stood right next to my daughter, watched her be hit over and over and over, and then pushed into another student. Okay, what my daughter tells me is that she said, "Mom, when he was hitting me, I told the teacher." So the teacher wasn't near her then. She said, "I told Miss Brock that he was hitting me." She said Miss Brock went down and went next to her, stood there, and watched him hit her over and over. So when my daughter came home that day crying and she told me, what I did was I called the police. And we went to the school. Ms. Guzman, the principal, she refused to even allow the police officers to question the teacher. But my daughter did give the police her statement, and it's in our police report that we have as part of our evidence.
Was anyone else able to corroborate what your daughter had said?
We didn't get to, they wouldn't allow us to speak with anybody. Because that should have been we should have been, the police and I should have been able to question the teacher, or, if they want to question her, at least here. But we had the name of the student she was pushed into, and the two students that witnessed it. So we have that, and we also have the police report.
Okay. Now, how many reports did we get as far as write-ups, as far as bullying is concerned? What you got? 75 in one stack, 39 in another stack, about 100 altogether?
No, it's more than 100 because one stack of complaints where documents that was sent to the school and the school's own documentation tells about 75 complaints where, me complaining of her not being able to eat. So we had to deal with that at Frost Elementary, where they refused her lunch. And then the documentation, it says, mother complains of her daughter not being able to eat lunch again, because it continued. And then when we went to McCoy Elementary, same thing.
And you said they're not allowing her?
They were, okay, for some reason, things would happen, or quite a milk waste in her food, and they wouldn't give her a chance to eat. And I know at McCoy Elementary, she said that she was eating. She sat down to eat lunch, and this teacher went and got in her face and started yelling at her, telling her it's time to go. And she said, Mom, she was eating my food. If you bend over and you yell in a kid's face like that. And she said, she wouldn't eat it. She said, and Mom, after she did that, then she said, oh, you have enough time. But she had already spit in her food.
Yeah.
What about the water situation?
Oh, yeah, the water situation was at Frost Elementary. And see, you got to realize my daughter has disability. She has asthma. And she missed so much school, pretty much the whole time. The stress was so bad on her that she would get sick. And when you're sick, you can't get the allergy shots. So it came to a point in time where she was sick all the time. And, it would trigger her asthma attacks.
Yeah.
So we wasn't able to give her allergy shots. And documentation of her missing so much school is part of our evidence for the bullying, due to the bullying causing the asthma attacks. And me pulling her out of school. This time makes it 4 times pulling her out of school.
In the elevator?
Okay, and the elevators, okay. After we stood there and watched the teacher, after the teacher stood there and watched my daughter be hit, and the police came out, okay, so I'm angry, because this has been going on since 2010. So what I do is I go home, and I write on my card, Georgetown ISD allows bullying. And I go to the school the next day to see if I can speak with Miss Brock about the incident.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in my car and I'm going through my paperwork looking for the family codes, Texas family codes. And everybody sees what I have wrote on my card, and it gets to the superintendent. So the superintendent comes over and has the police come over, and they banned me from all school properties. This is the day after, so it may be the December 9th, 2011.
Okay.
The day after. So I'm banned from all school properties. And
did they give you a trespassing citation?
Yes, we have a copy of that in our evidence. It's in the evidence also.
Yeah.
And it should be in yours also.
It should be, yeah.
Because I think you have the police report too.
I think so, yeah.
And January or February of 2012, 3 ministers and I go to the superintendent, and we asked the superintendent, can she be able to return to school without the abuse? And he didn't state yes or no. I know I made a comment. I said, because it's discontinued, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to go to the NAACP. So he says, I don't care about no NAACP, which made Minister Dwight angry. And Minister Dwight was sitting right next to him, and he turned to him and he said, I have 3,000 members at my church. Because he's so bold and open with the, the superintendent didn't care. And once the minister said that, that's when he was like, okay, she can go back to school. But the bullying continued.
Yeah.
Even with the ministers, we had 3 ministers in there, and we had people in the waiting room and people outside when we went to ask. So those are my witnesses also. You know, we have more than enough evidence that's never been a problem.
Yeah. And
But
so
racism still exists. Now this is what the problem is. So now with the child, the elevator problem, the child has been put out of school. So what we're suggesting right now is that we go to the school board. If they don't want to hear us today, then what we would do, we'll come back with a paramilitary march. We would bring the new Black Panther Party in with our guards and our guns. And we would march on the school board if they won't be with us today. And at the same time, we're going to do some community rallies because this is not an isolated incident. We're going to treat it as if it was a hate crime because basically from what I understand when I talk to Ms. Nelly, right, is that one, the school teachers are white, two, the principal's supposed to be white, and three, the child is black. So you call it, it is what it is. It's a race crime. So if the little child can't get a proper education, she's not being tended for, she's not being cared for, the counseling that needs to be provided. So what we did, we're basically prepared right now to do what we call a civil litigation called a 1983 lawsuit. So in order for us, the new Black Panther Party, to come on the scene, we have rules and regulations, and we're following protocol, and our instructions are to seek out what the problem is. So it seems that this time it's the Georgetown School District. So we're going to go and see the superintendent or supervisor, and we're going to demand a resolution to be made. If they refuse to hear the demand that we're making, then we will do a protest, and we will do a rally, and we will do some legal litigation. So at this time, this is basically what we wanted. This is what we're going to do. So we want to see that this don't just become an isolated incident or it be swept up under the carpet. She's a little child. You know, the new Black Panther Party has a 10-point platform. A reasonable, affordable education is what we're asking for. But really, we don't ask it, we demand it because this is part of our rights. Even though up under the United States Constitution, it says up under the First Amendment, you have freedom of religion, freedom of the press, you have these religious rights, and up under the Eighth Amendment, you got what you call due process of law and equal protection of the law. So if the child can't get the things that's due to her, then maybe we have to do it by force. As the new Black Panther Party being a paramilitary organization, we've been doing it over some 22 years. We started with James Byrd in Jasper, Texas, and we're still moving and going places. We just come from our Million Youth March in Harlem, New York, where we had over 1 million youths come out, and this is what we're having people to understand, that we need proper education for our children. How can a person say that they're going to be free and they don't know what freedom is because they don't have a right to exercise the right of being free? Education is something that our children must have within the 21st century going into, because without a proper education, a person can't maintain his life. He can't read, he can't write, he don't know what freedom is. So you got to have some education. So the youth is the future for them tomorrow. And for us older folks, it's just another day. So I strongly suggest Sister Marsha Muhammad here is from the Austin chapter. So we've sit down with the mother here. We've had a chance to observe the child. She's not an unruly child. She's very humble, she's submissive, she's very loving, and she's caring. Now, I've seen situations where people have been picked out to be picked on. I can't say she's a geek because she don't look like one to me. Maybe she might have asthma, she might have a hip problem, but this doesn't give anybody the right to cast judgments upon this child to deny her a proper education. She's human just like anybody else. She's a very sweet child. I've come, I think this is the second or third time I've come. Matter of fact, we're going to bring out and let everybody see the child and she can go in. But this doesn't make sense. If a real man can't stand up for a little kid, then he don't really need to be in this world. Everybody needs somebody. So we, the new Black Panther Party, are going to come on the scene and see that our little sister get what's due to her. By any means necessary, Brother Malcolm, to say. Even go back to talk about Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad as he talks about the black cat at White Dog School. He told us about these kind of conditions 22 years ago. Well, these little black cats would go to White Dog School and learn how to serve the master, how to fetch the master's slipper. But when they would come down to the end, the little cat would forget about how to eat drinking milk and forget about being a cat. Boy wants to become a dog and go out on the limb and rest around other black cats and push them down the ground. So I said that to say this. We got to remember who we are and where we come from. But in order for us to make sure that this thing is resolved right, we need to move on to the school board and we need to let them know that we got The sister done showed us evidence from the police records. She got the anti-bullying policy from Georgetown Independent School District. She got the Child Protective Services policy, the U.S. Department of Education policy. She's got everything that she needs. She's went to the deputy superintendent. She talked to the people in charge of the school district, the principal for the elementary school. Now, how you going to tell a sister, a lady, a real mom, a single mom, how you going to tell her to send her child to a school where she refused to come on the property? But maybe there's a conspiracy. Maybe it's a little bit more than a hate crime. So we got to look more deeper into this and see if we can resolve these issues. And if not, we're going to push the issue that we need to do some rallies in this town. We need to organize the black community and march on the school board. Now, this is just the way that it has to be done, but we're going to try to resolve a bunch of the issues by legal means first. And if it don't work, Brother Malcolm say by any means necessary. All right, so let's
Can I ask a couple of questions
Sure.
regarding that?
Go ahead.
Today, are you planning on approaching the superintendent today at his office?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And if you don't come to some kind of resolution or there isn't a discussion today, you said you're going to look into legal means.
And we will boycott the school board. We will boycott the school district. Now, we're going to try by legal means to resolve some issues today. But if it don't work, we'll just shut the school system down. We won't allow any more school to go on. We'll stay on the school board. We'll picket. We'll march until we get some resolution. We don't have any choice because this is a stone that don't need to be left unturned. How are you going to take a little child that comes into school and for 4 years you disrupt the present status of people who are going out and getting image and getting war, talking about slavery and depression? This is not the way it's going. We're going into the 21st century. We don't know what this child has in her heart. And for you to deny her an education, somebody got to stand up for somebody, and somebody has to be strong. So we're going to go to the school board. If they don't want to do the right thing, then we'll just shut them down.
And how did you hear about this? Did you reach out to
We reached out to everybody. There's no Child Protective Services. This is their job. And according to the Child Protective Services Code, Family Code, these teachers and staff members are guilty of abuse by omission, and some participated in the abuse. But I took all the steps. I went to the school and went as far as I could with the school. I went to Texas Education Agency. This is what they told me when all was said and done. They told me that the only thing they have to do is make sure that the school district has an anti-bullying policy on record. They don't have to enforce it. He said that it's up to the people to go to the legislature and add that bit of that. That's what's keeping them from making them enforce it.
Really?
That's what he told me. And he said that I have his letters and the evidence.
Yeah.
He said that he didn't have the authority.
Okay.
But my evidence with TA education administration codes, they have this authority when it deals with abuse. It's called a priority 1. And with priority 1, you have to step in. But he wouldn't. And so I found Georgetown and Texas Education as a joint complaint with the Office of Civil Rights. But when I went into the Office of Civil Rights, I have evidence where they were corrupt. Well, there was corruption. They were intimidating me. They were trying to coerce me. They were being biased. And I have that evidence. And I even had to go up within the Office of Civil Rights and complain about it.
And why don't you tell me a little bit about...
We even went as far as mediation, early resolution.
Really?
Yes. I have the evidence with the early resolution where they told me to ask for whatever I wanted. And I wanted the superintendent terminated, the teachers terminated, and the Office of Civil Rights was telling me, no, you can't have them terminated. And money, compensation for money, no, you can't ask for compensation. They might give you money for counseling or something like that. So, but in their policy, they said they're neutral. They're not even supposed to suggest anything. But these people were telling me what to ask for, what I can't ask for.
Yeah. And so, Are you homeschooling her right now?
Yes, that's what we're doing that right now.
Doing that right now. And why don't you tell me a little bit about the petition?
Okay, when I in 2012, after this is after the ministers and I met with the school and the abuse continued. What I did was I went around Georgetown and I had people sign the petitions. And we got up until 500 names, but I wanted to submit them to the Office of Civil Rights as part of my evidence, so I just stopped at about 500 names. And when I went around, all these people, all races, were telling me about the bullying that's going on at this school and at that school. I'm hearing different complaints. And,
So it seems
and I didn't know it was that many. You know, I'm thinking we're maybe 1 out of 2 or 2 out of 3, just a few of us, you know, who's going through this, but I'm finding out it's so many. And they were asking me for help, and I couldn't help them. I was trying to help my daughter.
Yeah. So you found other parents in the same situation.
There's so many. There were so many. But I think Georgetown was aware of that. There's so many complaints. And at the same time, in November 2010, when Georgetown was settling a case with Kimmy Mitchell and her son, discrimination case, they were allowing my daughter to be bullied. They're signing her contract with settlement with Kimmy Mitchell. In the contract, they signed a contract saying that they're not going to allow bullying in the school, but at the same time they were.
Yeah.
So we have a clear-cut case of abuse, neglect. We see this, we're going to treat it as if though these people are committing a hate crime, and these are the charges and allegations that we're prepared to bring before them. We've had a chance to talk to a Dr. Umar Abdullah Johnson. He's a black psychiatrist who deals with these kind of problems that we're having in the community. He suggested that homeschooling should be an option that shouldn't be left out. So we contact our sister Soul Love Shabazz. She's at thempresshours@gmail.com, and she's agreed to take the child and educate her at no cost. This is complimented for a sister who understands the pain of being a mother. I've had a chance to observe the children and stuff, and they've done well to graduate to be scientists and doctors, very educated people, and Sister Soul Love Shabazz could be contacted at thempresshour@gmail.com. I believe her number is 469-200-3047. She's agreed that if you're really having these problems and she understands your pain, she's a mother too, that she was agreed that online your child will go to school. She'll also help her to get her SAT grade scores and her averages up, and she won't charge you a thing. This is what the Collective Black Power movement is all about. Sister Marsha Muhammad is the chairman. So Sister Marsha, since you're the chairman here in Austin, we're out here in Georgetown, I'm going to ask you as a woman and as the chairman that you have to say something and tell me what you feel, so we can all be together on the same platform. So Sister Black Power, I'm going to let you talk and have this now.
Well, I'm in support of the family, and I'm a mother too, and I'm a teacher, and I've had situations where children were bullied. That's something that you take very serious, and you don't tolerate. I've never heard anything like this to go on for so long. I live in Round Rock, and I've worked out here in Georgetown. I kind of know the climate, so I'm not surprised at all. I feel for the mother. I'm going to support her in making sure that the child gets proper education online, and I'm willing to do whatever's necessary to make sure this abuse does not continue. It cannot continue.
Black Power. It's good to have the input of the women, because the women are more in tune with the children than us men. We basically go out and get the bacon and bring it home, whether it's beef bacon or pork bacon, we bring it home. But where's the child? Can we bring her out so we can get a picture of her sister? She sleep?
She won't come.
Okay. All right, maybe later. See what we got to go through, because the abuse of the
But she
child
has
suffer.
different mood swings.
Yeah, she's normal. See, so this is going to be a problem.
She's been through a lot.
That's why I didn't sleep when I talked to you, so I just had to come. Now I contacted brother from San Antonio, the chairman, and asked Brother Kyle to assist us in this investigation. So at this time, if anybody don't have anything else to say, I strongly suggest that we should go to the school board and take it to another level.
Yeah.
Like